The first country in the world to actually implement mobile money was Kenya in 2007. We are still now trying to find a solution.
Welcome to another episode of Little Red Talk, a show where we invite special guests to talk about issues that Singaporeans need to know about. On today's episode, we have Inderjit Singh, former Member of Parliament and co-president of the World Entrepreneurship Forum. So earlier this year, you spoke with Deal Street Asia, and you mentioned that Singapore isn't changing fast enough and the government's economic strategy needs to change. So what did they do wrong and what should they do now?
I think in terms of identifying what is needed for the long term, in terms of policy changes and implementing some of these initiatives, we are taking a bit too long. Building infrastructure is something that we've always been very good at, but to adapt this infrastructure to initiatives like smart cities, mobile payment, these are things that we have not seen significant changes, although we were maybe among the first countries in the world to talk about the smart nation, smart city initiatives. So I think it's really more in implementation, and this could also be related to policies that may be slowing us down.
What kind of policy?
An example would be mobile payment. We had nets many years ago. We were very far ahead of many other nations. But today, when you talk about mobile money, China is ahead of us. China is already, fully in the implementation stage. Even the roadside hawkers are using mobile money for payment. People are giving ang paos through their mobile phones these days in China. The first country in the world to actually implement mobile money was Kenya in 2007. The M-Pesa system that they put in place. Whereas we are still now trying to find a solution. I was trying to figure out what took us so long. I look at the China model. Really, these initiatives were driven by the private sector. They were experimenting with all the technology and systems. The government was managing it with a very light touch, allowing the private sector to experiment. And once they found a technology that could be implemented, the government then built the regulations around that. Whereas in our case, we are starting with regulations first. So we have the government, the civil servants trying to put in place a robust legislation to manage this. And the private sector is finding it very difficult to manage with the tight regulations. So we have not seen a workable solution after so many years.
What other countries are ahead of us?
In terms of ability to adopt, Shanghai seems to be ahead of us from the survey that I've seen. I think London is another city that is moving very fast. So London has got an app that gives you visibility to the public transport system. And it was possible because the government there was very willing to share data with private sector for you to use to develop apps. So City Mapper, for example, is an app. We are now trying to develop a similar app in Singapore. I've gone around to many cities around the world. Paris, France, for example. We always consider France to be slow, bureaucratic country, will not be able to progress as fast as we can. I was shocked to see that even Helsinki, Finland, Berlin, these guys are way ahead of us in terms of the ability to adopt new technology and come up with new ideas, and the ecosystem is a lot more vibrant. Europe was hit very badly by the financial crisis in the 2008-09 period. And I think all of them had to find a way to survive and come up with new drivers of the economy, and they have transformed. So I think if we think that the old Europe is too slow and is going to be left behind in the future economy, I think we are mistaken. Many of these cities and countries have caught up, and they are running very fast. So whatever age we may have had in the past, we may lose that in the years to come if we don't move faster.